Hello, and happy Monday, everyone. Welcome into another edition, episode, whatever you want to call it, of Titan Talk. I'm Isaiah. Kilgun is with me as usual, and Pon is joining us.
Yes.
Because this week, we've got 3 shows dedicated to Open Beta 15. There's a lot of stuff in the update, especially from the design side. We're going to be spending a lot of time today talking about the big pass that we've kind of teased on previous shows for like healing and lifesteal and anti-heal. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Hu Yi and a lot of other stuff. We've got even more balance that's not going to be on this show that we're going to be talking about on Friday. So just lots of stuff focused on Open Beta 15 this week. But I'm just going to get right into it. Kilgun, Pon, you all doing good today?
Yeah, we were a little bit late.
A little bit late. It's a Monday.
We had a meeting right before this that was running a little long, and we had to kind of claw our way out of to make it to the show on time. But glad to be here. Sorry we're late, chat. And I probably could have started on time had I not grabbed my Alani, but I felt like
Alani is
traditions are traditions.
Definitely late.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, shall we just go ahead and hop right into it, because we've got a lot of stuff on my document that I've prepped. Pon, I'm going to throw to you before we pull up the handy dandy desktop. Talk to me about what's happening in Open Beta 15, and I've got a lot of lists and stuff about kind of the overarching goals, but I'll defer to you about what's actually changing before we hop into it.
Yeah, so we alluded to this in a few Titan Talks. The main goal of this is to address what I think is a long-standing problem that SMITE 1 had. We tried various things over SMITE 1's lifetime to resolve it. We found a stable point that kind of worked. SMITE 2 this is our attempt to tackle the problem, and it's healing.
Yes.
Healing has always been kind of a sticking point because it's one of those things where it's an archetype that we want to support. We want people to feel like they can bring this unique teamfight utility to the game. But when you use it out of combat, it's very potent. If you nerf it there, then in combat, once you have anti-heal, it feels weird.
So we're bringing back brawling?
No, we're not bringing back brawling. We also have like I don't know how many times I go to the subreddit and I see someone post a picture of Anubis fully lifestealing against them, and they're like, what the hell is this game? And then everyone in the comments goes, idiot, buy anti-heal.
Yep.
And it's like, it feels weird on both sides of Anubis' strength should be that.
Yeah.
Should it be as powerful as it is without anti-heal? Because anti-heal is the game that's meant to balance that. And does it feel good as the person building the anti-heal to have to build anti-heal against those characters? And largely it gets to the point where anti-heal is ubiquitous enough. There's enough characters with mixed healing, get some lifesteal, there's ways to regen health in other ways, that you feel like you're kind of obligated to buy anti-heal in most games anyway, right? Like, it doesn't even feel like it's really doing the counter thing. So you want to take a pretty holistic view at healing overall. So this is, and it's one of those things where every single time we've tried to tackle this in the past, you need to do a lot of things to make it work well.
Yeah.
And doing all those things is really scary. It's a lot of work. It's a really big shift to the game. And so we've often done different things. We've gone down different avenues to try and fix it. Things like the brawler thing in SMITE 1, where we tried to address out of combat healing versus in combat healing with like a kind of invisible debuff that was really hard to understand. Providing itemization support. There's just a lot that goes into it. And so this is meant to be, there's a lot in this because we feel like there needs to be a lot done in one fell swoop to actually do this type of change justice.
So for those who are watching and not reading chat, I have to explain my sigh and my exasperation. Clumsy in chat posted, instead of healing, if you receive a certain amount of health, you enter a cart.
Oh my gosh.
You're not supposed to spoil our changes.
I know, right?
Anyway, sorry.
Yes.
Back to the important things.
Okay, so I think it's worth bringing up the doc now. I hope, I didn't actually get a chance to look. I hope the doc has all the notes.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so this will be in the patch notes. We're going to go through it because this is basically the explanation of what the change is, why the change is, and kind of the kind of philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
So yeah, first off, why address healing in general? One is it's a new player trap. The necessity of like anti-heal itemization, the fact that anti-heal items exist. New players don't know to build this, so they get absolutely stomped by things that have healing. And then veterans are able to completely shut down healing, and they understand like how they can counter it, so it's balanced in that sense.
Yeah.
But they have to build this item. And it also means that healers don't ever feel like they have a consistent strength. Arbitrarily, they could get clipped by an AoE that slightly touched them, and suddenly their whole identity is now gone, which also feels weird to that respect. So the goal is to...
Or it's like, I have to time my heal to when this debuff expires. And it's like, I'm just sitting here waiting to do the thing I want to do, you know?
So the goal is give healer roles a more consistent presence. So rather than jumping around, we're going to remove anti-heal, and we're just going to adjust the healing numbers so that it's a more kind of flat, consistent amount.
Yeah.
There will still be ways to anti-heal in a little bit. God specifically will still be able to provide anti-heal at a reduced amount, but item anti-heal is largely gone. And similarly, give lifesteal rolls a more consistent presence. Characters have high lifesteal amounts, and Anubis is the primary example. They should feel like that part of their kit identity functions and works, and they can rely on it, but it's not ping-ponging them super to the extremes, and it's also not immediately shut down the second anyone builds anti-heal.
Sweet. All right. Well, I'm going to scroll down. What is going away? What are we removing as a part of this change?
Don't go to show the whole thing.
Oh, not the whole thing yet. All right, cool.
Let's go through this bit.
Okay. All anti-heal from items, just gone.
Yes.
It's not going to be a required build component for anyone. We've reduced lifesteal on items to be around 25 to 50% reduced. The general goal here is that we think this is about the amount we need to nerf this effect for it to feel balanced in a world where anti-heal has been removed. Out of combat, this is going to be functionally a nerf to your lifesteal, but in combat, you're going to have the strength knowing that what your lifestealing is going to be the amount that you're getting. Yeah. All healing increases on items will no longer provide direct increases to healing output. So the Rod of Asclepius world, the Typhon's Fang, those items were there to even push it higher to fight against anti-heal even more. Again, we want this to feel like it's a consistent thing that you're building towards and able to utilize, and not require that you have to build these items to make your healing successful or your lifesteal successful.
Yeah. All right. And then we've reduced item healing and God healing.
Yep. So item healing is going down by about 30 to 60%, as is God healing going down by 30 to 60%. The range is there to account for a few things. So, for example, Achilles at level 1. His healing is not something you really build anti-heal for because you don't have anti-heal at that stage of the game. Largely, that's not being changed too much. And the same at max level, Achilles, the heal that he brings is conditional. He has to activate an ability that then requires you to follow up and deal an attack. The healing he's providing there is not going to swing him to full health. Yeah. So it's getting a lesser adjustment versus someone like, I'll do Sylvanas just because he isn't in the game yet, right? Like it's a cooldown ability that just instantly hits everyone around you and instantly heals them with no other conditional component required to it. It's also something that you would absolutely build anti-heal against a Sylvanas. That's being reduced more than the Achilles heal would be, because we don't want this just to be like this is one of those things where you can't just do a 50% across the board and call it a day.
It wouldn't feel good.
It has to be contextual to the character. In cases where we did, and just before, because we'll have like a what do we add section, because right now I'm just talking a lot about removing things.
Yes.
For the characters who were more nerfed, so Aphrodite would be one of those examples, we've given them other utility buffs to compensate for the fact that we've lowered this amount by the amount that we have.
Yes.
So just for context on Aphrodite, she's getting more protection sharing. She has a lower ult cooldown. And then I think there's one other thing that we did. I just can't remember off the top of my head right now. But like Cupid got an additional component, Baron got an additional component. So like those characters that got more healing nerfed got changes. The same way that Amanita Charm is an item that got more healing nerfed. It has a new completely additional component. Rod of Asclepius has a new completely additional component. So I think we can go on to the next point.
Cool.
So this actually explains a little bit about like why would Aphrodite or Baron get a larger adjustment than if you go scroll down a little bit more. Like Raw Ultimate is a unique example on his aspect, where that one is a very long cooldown ability, so it didn't get cut as much because it's more conditional. It's an ultimate level ability. So this is just to explain, when you see the number changes that we've done, this is the why some numbers are bigger nerf than other nerfs, right? And why we had to make different types of adjustments.
Yes. All right. Next up on the list, kind of into your last.
Yeah, and then one other thing is, it's most of the healing nerf is towards later levels and scaling, because again, the early ranks of an ability are not generally the problem where people have with healing. You also haven't built anti-heal. We don't want to disrupt the laning phase too much, right? Like we want this to be more impactful when team fights are occurring at the later stage of the game. So it's more as you rank up abilities and scaling in particular.
Yeah. All right. Reduced God anti-healing is the last point. Yes.
So all God anti-heal is now going to be consistent. It's going to be 25%. It will if it gets applied, it'll just refresh the effect, and they don't stack. So if you have an anti-heal character in your lobby, you use it. It's going to be that 25% reduction.
And just to be clear, because I think we talked about this before, Odin Cage is still 100% anti-heal?
Yes. So the exceptions would be, like, when we get to Serket, she would be 100% reduction. Odin Cage is 100% reduction. Osiris would be 100% reduction. Those 100% effects where it's like, no, we literally shut you down, those will be preserved because we think that's okay on God strength. If that were to be an item, we feel like it would become a mandatory item in the same way. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I think the another god that is known for their anti-heal capacity is like Opwash.
Yes.
When we eventually get to Opwash, maybe he would have an exception to this 25%.
Yes.
But it's just like if a god kind of incidentally anti-heals as part of their kit, it's 25 now.
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's talk about what we are adding now. We talked a lot about what's getting removed.
A lot of cool stuff.
What we're adding. New lifesteal items up first.
New lifesteal items. You're just going to have a slew of new lifesteal items. I think we'll go over all of them today.
Yep.
So you're going to have new lifesteal items because we think that if you want to build down this lifesteal path, we think it should be supported. There should be options that are available to you. And some of them have interesting scalings related to lifesteal. But the important thing is they're not related to directly increasing your healing output. There's no lifesteal item that goes, okay, if you hit 20% lifesteal, your next ability is going to heal you for 100% of that amount. It's because
if heal more, then heal more.
Yeah. We're trying to avoid those types of effects and give you different things that are cool about lifestealing.
Next up, new healing focused items.
And same thing there, a whole slew of new healing items. If you want to play the more healer type role, we're giving you they're not going to be the same as Smite 1. So this would have been like your Lotus Crown. This would have been your, did that get changed to Lotus Sickle?
I think it did at some point.
Yeah, right. Like your rejuvenation rod, like those types of effects. We focus on trying to create effects that are interesting for those healers to use, that make them feel good for using their healing abilities, that isn't directly related to your healing is 25% increased.
Yeah. All right, next on the list, adjusted existing items, Brawlers and Contagion, and I'll scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, so this is what's happening to our current anti-heal items.
Yes.
Brawlers and Contagion have been reworked. Brawlers is a soft counter to healing, and Contagion is a soft counter to lifesteal. They're good items on their own for what they do when we get to them. But when you face a healer, when you face a lifestealer, you'll get some extra perks that make them nice in those situations. But we want these items to feel good on their own and then a soft counter rather than a mandatory thing to build against these types of characters. Yeah. And then Learning and Bow and Divine Ruin, these stats have just been adjusted. So they lost anti-heal. They've gained some strength or intelligence. Divine Ruin got stronger Chain Lightning effect because we think the item's just cool for being a Chain Lightning ability, and Learnian's just a cool item for being Learnian.
Yeah.
So keep them as is. The only anti-heal item that currently exists that's not coming back is Ruinous Ankh. That one is very clearly defined by its anti-heal. And we might use that item in the future as like a different type of thing, but for now that's gone.
Yep. All right, next up, item compensation for nerfs and god compensation for nerfs.
So Amanita Charm is a good example. So Amanita Charm is losing a lot of its healing. It only goes like I think 12% over a slightly longer window now, rather than the 20% that it did before. But it's adding a new component where it spore guards you, which actually means that like you get spore guards on you that when you get hit by an ability, that ability will deal less damage and knock a stack off. So it gives you new utility that isn't just increased healing. That's what we kind of mean by that effect. Same with God compensations for nerfs. This is the type of Aphrodite stuff I got, where she shares more protections, her ult is on a lower cooldown, Baron, his movement speed got increased, stuff like that, right? Like that's the other kind of compensation for those types of characters where we want to make sure that their utility still feels high, given the fact that we are going to be reducing their out-of-combat healing pretty significantly.
Cool. All right, I will keep on going. Gods gaining anti-heal is our last point.
Yeah, this came up actually in some of the discussion with the ambassadors because we told them about this pitch like 2 weeks ago, and they gave some feedback. And one of them was like, it'd be cool if there was also more options for anti-heal opportunities on gods, because we think bringing gods to the roster is like a cool way to counter these types of things, especially in like ranked draft lobbies. But there's also a very limited amount of characters who can provide anti-heal. So we went through the characters, looked at what characters kind of made sense. I note there's actually a problem on one of these. It's not Seething Howl, but we'll get to that.
Cool.
Agni, Noxious Fumes, Ares, Searing Flesh. Fenrir, this should be Brutalized.
Okay, cool.
I don't know why I wrote Seething Howl. I was doing a Seething Howl adjustment. Izanami, Spectral Projection, and the Aspect Chalk Rain will all get anti-heal.
Nice. Sweet. All right. Well, I think that was everything for our overarching views, kind of what's going away and what's being added.
Yes.
Are you ready to dive into items?
Sure. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So a lot of exciting changes to items and new items coming as part of this.
Yes.
All right.
The actual patch notes for this is just insanely long.
Yes.
A lot of them is just explaining
even right now,
changes.
this doesn't even have the gods on this doc, and this is items, and we're at 12 pages.
Hell
So,
yeah, let's go.
all right. So items up first. Let's talk about Divine Ruin and Learning Bow kind of in conjunction because they are items that are seeing a little bit of compensation buffs. For
Yep. So
Ruin
again, this is kind of the example of what we did for Divine Ruin and Learning Bow. We made the passive stronger. We gave it we adjusted its cost according to the fact that we gave it stuff. Learning Bow, very similar bow. It gains a little bit of cost, but it gains a whole additional 10 strength, which should just make it a more interesting item. Yeah. And these two items I think have niches that feel good on their own.
Cool. All right. Brawler's Ruin being renamed to Brawler's Beatstick, a name that is familiar for our Smite 1 fans. What's going on with Brawler's Beatstick, Pond?
Well, first off, it had to lose Ruin because we also lost the tier 1 and tier 2.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to make sure that Ruin wasn't in the title. But yeah, so Brawler's Beatstick. And so this one is it's one of the items that gives you strength or intelligence, whichever you have more of. And we're actually leveraging that a few places here so that there's variety in which characters can build this. It also gives you some protections. And it goes, if you've not taken or dealt damage to... or dealt god damage in the last 5 seconds, gain bonus 75% of the above passive when dealing damage. So if you are the first striker in combat, you get a big boost to strength and intelligence, whichever one is higher. If you took damage instead, gain 30 protection. So this is it shifts between being offensive or defensive based off how you entered combat. If a nearby enemy uses a healing ability, immediately gain both effects.
Nice.
So cool. Good on its own. If someone heals around you, even better.
Yeah, and if you think this is a cool item, we got a lot of really
I know,
cool
right?
I think that like the depth, it's gonna be interesting. You'll see. Sorry.
So this is also what we mean by soft counter, right? Like, I don't want the effect to be they healed, so therefore they're silenced for 5 seconds, or they healed, so therefore their healing's reduced, or that kind of effect, because that's kind of counter to the goal. We want this to be something that, like, oh, I'm against a high healer draft lobby. I can get something that makes me feel good versus putting the other healer down, because we want to create that consistent healing roll, but let you feel like you can build something. The other one's a little bit more punishing towards the other side, so we'll get there with Contagion.
All right. You mentioned it, Contagion. Up next, what's going on with Contagion?
Yep, so Contagion is now being changed to a passive. When enemies in hand or ability damage you, apply 1 stack of Contagion to them once per attack. So if Anubis ults you, only 1 stack gets applied to Anubis. If you base attack or apply hard crowd control to the enemy with Contagion, consume them to deal 2% of your max health per stack in an AoE. So you Contagion them, and then you burst the stacks that are on them. Nice. If someone life steals 100 health from you, immediately apply 5 stacks to them.
Ooh, okay.
So this is they try to steal life from you, you're contagious. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, everyone.
Yes, please wash your hands.
But this gives it it's a different max health scaling option. It has different ways of proccing, and especially in big team fights where you get a whole bunch of people kind of together that hit you, you can punish them for having hit you if you can follow up with a basic attack or hard crowd control.
That's really cool. Next up, let's talk about, you mentioned it earlier, but the Ruin items are being removed.
Correct.
So Ruinous Ankh, Ruinous Poison, and Ruinous Venom. And I think that is it for the anti-heal section. I have a big block of just general lifesteal item changes, tier 1, T2s, and a couple
just to quickly go over this, right? This is essentially our passive, reducing lifesteal from items by about 50%. These are the tier 1 and tier 2 adjustments that need to be made for that to work. And then the items that are existing lifesteal items, how are they changed to address this kind of adjustment? Yeah. Again, these will often look like nerfs to the items, but you're also not expecting to be completely anti-healed from these effects anymore.
Yeah, because we saw a lot of times people are anti-heal like 75%, right?
Yeah.
You know, like this, anyway.
Cool. All right, moving right along. Let's talk about the Reaper getting a little bit of a little spoiler there.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Reaper.
So this is actually unrelated to everything I've talked about. Sorry. The Reaper, Serrated Edge, and Devourer's Gauntlets, where it came up in feedback as these items just feel very similar. I think this actually came up in Titan Talk. We'd already done this adjustment, but it came up in Titan Talk. They feel very similar. Like they are largely a math problem for which one is the best one that you want. They have slightly different ways to trigger, but you're basically going to trigger them and get their effects. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like a super interesting puzzle. So we wanted to make these 3 items feel distinctly different in what they're doing. So first off, the Reaper, it's going to stay similar. It's focused on you killing targets to get stacks that makes this item better over time. But it now has a bonus for when you kill a target. You get a little bit of kind of that Thanatos or Kali style of effect where it burst heals you a bit. Not crazy amounts, again, because we don't want to introduce too much healing. But it has the downside of if you die, the amount of stacks that this item stacks up to goes down. And it can go down lower than the 3.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's truly you really need to be getting kills and staying with positive KDA with this item. And if you aren't, you're going to be struggling with this item.
It's really cool. Risk reward,
Yeah.
All right, next up, let's talk about Serrated Edge being removed, but a new item coming in its place, Barbed Carver.
Yes,
like that name.
we think that the fact that this is going to function so differently, it just made sense to give it a new name. But it's essentially replacing what Serrated Edge was doing because that's the slot it's taking up. So it gives you strength, it gives you lifesteal, and enemies damaged by abilities gain a stack of jagged wounds for 5 seconds, up to 3 stacks once per ability per target. Your in-hands and abilities deal a bonus 8% plus 1% per 10% lifesteal. So if you have 20% lifesteal, this will be 10% physical damage for each stack of jagged wounds. So this not only is good for basically amping up your ability to deal damage to targets you've hit with other abilities, but it scales with your lifesteal to be more offensive. So as you stack other lifesteal effects, this effect also gets stronger.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, and then I think the last one on the list you mentioned is Devourer's Gauntlet. So
Yes.
getting a new, some new effects here.
Yes. So it is no longer getting stacked by dealing damage. This is kind of a revert to an old Smite 1 item. And we think that the reason we wanted to do this was actually just, this gave it a very distinct item opportunity, which is, this is I want to actually stay in lane, I want to farm, I want to optimize my farm, I want to be really good at this to be able to have a power spike later on. The damage version kind of let you do that, but it also let you buy it late game and just immediately stack it because you're doing a lot more damage at that point, which meant we couldn't really make it strong, we couldn't really let it be super strong in what it was trying to do. This lets us have a lot more control over it. It does mean it's not as good in Assault, Arena. There's a reason we made that type of change in Smite 1. We might investigate maybe making like an Assault or Arena version of this item that is the damage rule instead. But we think this is really healthy for a Conquest style of play. And we've tried to make it spicy in its own right. So it gains stack only on killing minions or jungle monsters. This does not give you on kills from gods. It is the farm focus oriented item. And when it evolves, it gains a new passive, which is this item continues to stack. You can just keep stacking it.
Forever.
It now requires 8 minion kills for an additional stack. And jungle bosses and kills count as 40 minions. So if you're able to kill a Fire Giant, if you're able to kill a Gold Fury, you'll immediately get 5 stacks just outright. And to help in that goal, you will also deal bonus damage to minions, jungle monsters, and bosses. You're basically, the Devourer's Gauntlet, like, cool, that was a nice appetizer. Now I want the rest of the
It's time to eat.
So this should be a really interesting change. It should make the item a lot more compelling. It's been mix of viable or not, and it often falls it fell to tuning largely because it's also competing with these other 2 items, so this just helps it.
Cool. All right, moving right along here. Just a couple of lifesteal focused items, Nimble Ring and Soul Gem, decreasing the lifesteal, increasing the cost.
And generally lifesteal became more valuable in the sense of you're not going to get anti-healed by it. So that's why you see stuff like, even though you decrease lifesteal, we raise the cost because you're still, this lifesteal is going to be more impactful in the situations where you're actually in COD combat now.
Yep. All right. We teased this item already, Con.
Dude, this item is
well, let's
sick.
talk about Typhon's Heart again.
Yeah, so Typhon's Fang is removed. Again, this item was very focused on giving you more lifesteal and making you heal more from lifesteal, and that was a route that we didn't want to go down because we want it to be... We don't want you to just end up being like, you get so much lifesteal that we feel like we have to give anti-heal back, right? Like, we want lifesteal to be more interesting and give you more different components. So that's what this item is. It gives you 40 intelligence, 12.5% lifesteal, one of the higher lifesteal items you can get. Every minion or jungle monster kill provides a stack. God kills provide 30, assists provide 15. At 30 stacks, summon a monster of Typhon. It's the Chimera with a aura on it, but it's cool. It has 200 plus 50 per level health and deals damage equal to 300% of your lifesteal and 20% of your intelligence. Your lifesteal heals it. If you would summon another one, instead fully heal your current one and grant it 25% health, attack speed, and movement speed, stack it to 5 times. This does make it grow. It grows in size.
I know.
If you pentakill an enemy team, you will basically have an immediately full stacked Typhons.
That's nuts.
That is able to come help push with you. But if you try and stack this a whole bunch of other people, you're sharing assists. You're not going to be able to get nearly as many of these out. So very interesting effect.
Yeah.
If you build lifesteal, this can definitely chunk. I think the highest I could get it was auto attacking for like 264 per attack, and it was attacking really fast because
that's pretty scary though.
Yeah, it can definitely ramp up. So definitely, you get a little mini siege monster if you win a team fight, pretty much.
That's cool.
It's pretty fun. The first time I saw it, I was like,
what is that
going on?
How long does it live until it dies? Its logic is that of a minion, so it will fight nearby targets, and then once it kind of loses targets, it will try and run down a lane, and either it will win the game for you, which it can't really do on its own, or it'll die to a tower or someone eventually.
Cool. All right, next up, let's talk about the first new item that we haven't talked about yet, Gluttonous Grimoire.
Yes, Gluttonous Grimoire. So this is a intelligence, health, lifesteal item. 25% of lifesteal healing is stored into your next basic attack that successfully damages an enemy god as bonus damage. If you are at maximum health, store 40% of the healing. The stored amount is capped to 33% of your maximum health. So you can't actually build this up forever, literally one tap someone, but you can do a lot of damage with it.
Yeah.
And this is essentially, we want this is the type of item where it's like lifesteal can be built to make this effect more powerful in terms of damaging, not giving you more healing.
Yes. All right, next up, Sanguine Lash. This is a fun one.
This is a fun one.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is more towards the kind of bruisers, the more towards the characters who want to get into the thick of it. So it's strength, physical protection, and lifesteal. Passive, nearby enemies take 2% physical health damage every second, up to 200. There's a cap. And this scales with the amount of lifesteal you have. So the more lifesteal you build, the more this passive tick hurts. When this damages a god, reduce the active cooldown of this item by 5 seconds, plus more if you have more lifesteal. Minions reduce it by only 0.5, so you can't just walk in a minion wave and immediately reset it. The active is the kind of cool part of this.
Yeah.
You lash out an AoE burst that deals 10% physical health damage up to a max of 500. It can store up to 3 uses and has a cooldown of 90 seconds. So basically you can lash, and just do kind of a big burst of damage. You can space them out. But the big thing is the more that you're in the thick of a fight, the more that you're taking a whole bunch of characters, the more of these you're going to be able to lash out. And this item's damage will trigger lifesteal, so you will heal from this effect as well.
Nice. All right, next up, another new item on the list, Umbral Link.
Yep, Umbral Link is a way to essentially share your lifesteal healing. So 40 physical protection, 10% lifesteal. Split your lifesteal healing with nearby ally gods evenly. Each unique ally heal grants 10 protections for 8 seconds. This link only works while you're above 50% health. So as long as you can stay healthy, you can basically convert that lifesteal healing that you're doing, share it out to your team. It's essentially not creating any new healing. It's just sharing what you would have already had, giving yourself more protections for having done so successfully. Yeah. And then when you actually drop below 50% health, we go, actually, no, we're not linking anymore.
Yep.
I need to get healthy again.
All right, next up, another new item. We told you all there are going to be a slew of new items in this update.
Yeah, so that's actually the lifesteal pass. So those are the lifesteal items largely. The next one is now we're moving into the healing itemization.
Yes, and Daybreak Gavel, another cool name.
Yeah, I think we came up with some cool names. We're still working on the artwork. I know Erica is working really hard to actually get these all done. Thank you so much for the team for supporting me in this mad endeavor.
Yeah, but the item artwork and FX and, it's been, Kellen getting some audio in, it's been a lot.
Yeah. So Daybreak Gavel. This is another one where we use the split scaling type. So this is strength or intelligence, depending on which one is higher. So if you're a strength user, if you're an intelligence user, that'll work well on you. Gives you health as well. And then this is for each unique god healed by healing ability, gain a stack up to 4. Your next ability consumes all stacks to contribute 10% additional strength and intelligence scaling per stack. So if you're able to heal your whole team, this is really good for the characters who can either really consistently heal a few targets or heal a whole team and then do a big burst. You'll just be able to convert that fact that you healed a whole bunch of characters into more damage.
Nice. All right, next up on the list,
yeah,
Heartwood Charm.
Yeah. Heartwood Charm. So this is actually utilizing some new tech that I guess technically Daybreak Gavel did it, but this is more obvious. It gives 400 health, 250 mana, 10 cooldown rate. Your healing abilities have 20% reduced cooldown, and each cast reduces items' active cooldown by 10 seconds. What is a healing ability? We had to define that. A healing ability is any ability that would heal you, which sounds obvious, but we had to make calls like, does Artemis Trap with Aspect count? Does Sickening Strike count? And we thought it was the most fun to make it so that those abilities did count as healing abilities for the sake of allowing some interesting itemization. So generally, if an ability heals, even if it's a conditional for the heal, we're going to count it as a healing ability so that it can be utilized by this effect. Yeah, there's a lot of questions here. Afro 3, yeah, Sickening Strike. Yamoja, they apply her passive, so no. Merlin 3, forgot about. Probably should. Herc 3, yes. Lifesteal does not count. Mordred 1, yes. Nem ult is not truly a heal because we also made the call that it could be anti-heal. It's a health split. Mulan 2, yes. Danza 2, yes. Kerberos 3, yes. I could probably spend most of the time.
Yeah. It could be the rest of the show.
Yes, or I missed it, or there's some reason. This is one of those things that we will probably have to reinvestigate a little bit and make sure that we've tagged everything properly. Yeah. But this is also tech we want to use going forward because we think there's other rooms to explore this type of tagging for abilities. a melee ability versus a ranged ability. Like we might be able to do some cool stuff there too. So this is kind of our first outing with this type of effect. But yeah, they'll have reduced cooldown. So this is like your World Stone for your healing abilities. The active is your next non-ultimate healing ability will have no cooldown but deals 50% reduced damage. If it doesn't do damage, cool, you cheated the effect. If it does do damage, yeah, it'll do less damage. This is to prevent like Neath 2 on a high ability character. You could proc this. You could chain this with Mirrodin to get 3 of these. And getting 3 of these at full strength felt a little bit much.
Oh, for sure.
So, pretty good item though.
Yeah. All right. Next up on the list, Rod of Asclepius. You kind of mentioned it, but it is getting some changes here as a part of this update.
Yeah, so it doesn't increase healing anymore. We removed the active that basically negated all anti-heal because that's not really relevant as much anymore. You could keep it to stop God anti-heal, but we gave it a new active instead. So you send a healing snake that restores 10% of your ally's health over 10 seconds. This healing counts as healing from an ability. So you know I just talked about Daybreak Gavel?
Yep.
You could proc this with Rod of Asclepius to get the Daybreak Gavel.
Oh,
effect.
Nice. Cool.
That's what that means by healing from an ability. The snake is sacrificed if the target has 6 debuffs, immediately healing them for the 10% health, and applies all non-damage immunities for 1 second. So this is you proc it on your team. If they get a whole bunch of debuffs on them, no, they don't. They don't have debuffs on them anymore. And we think that this is an interesting effect. Has a high cooldown. We've also playing with a cost here because we think this is a really powerful effect. Like if you pop this on a team fight, it's going to be really, really impactful. But this will take a pretty hefty chunk out of your mana pool.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Breastplate of Valor. Just a small change here.
Yeah, so we also looked at other places where we had some underperforming items or items that we felt like we could add a little more spice to. Breastplate of Valor just felt like a cool one. Health restored due to your own healing also contributes to reducing your cooldown. So taking damage or healing it back up with your healing abilities, it both count towards the same goal of reducing your cooldowns.
Cool. All right, next up on the list, a fan favorite.
Yeah, so Rigo Striders, we gave it a new name, but it's the effect that people know and love with a little bit more spice. So it gives you physical protection, it gives you 3 mana regen, it gives you 15 cooldown rate. It shouldn't say percent, it should say cooldown rate. And passive, when you heal yourself from an ability, gain a burst of 35% movement speed that decays to 10% over 5 seconds for 5 seconds.
It's back.
Yep. And it has an additional cool component, which is when you gain a movement speed buff, restore 5% of your health over 5 seconds. It itself triggers itself. So
That's cool.
So when you heal yourself, it will give you the movement speed buff, which will then trigger the 5% heal as well. Or as you get movement speed buffs from things like Stampede or other characters like Baron gives you the movement speed buff, you'll also be able to heal from this. So just has a little bit more application than it did before. Nice.
Cool. All right. And then another Smite 1 item making its way to Smite 2, Vital Amplifier.
Yeah, we think this one's also an interesting one because it feels like a good niche for certain types of characters. It also this is gonna be really good on Guan.
Oh yeah.
the attack speed Guan side of things is gonna be really good after this. Vital Amplifier. People know and love it. 20% attack speed, 200 health, 3 regen. It also has a passive that works off strength or int, whichever is higher. We try to use this to make sure that as many items as we could reasonably make felt like they could be built on both sides if it made sense. And the passive is after healing yourself with yourself or now a god with an ability, you gain 10% attack speed and 5% basic attack damage for 6 seconds, stacking 3 times.
Nice. All right.
Classic Pelona item in Smite 1. Cool. So
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then another item that you mentioned earlier on in the show, but Amanita Charm getting a rework here.
Yes. So TLDR, I wrote it down there. I changed the heal amount, the tick rate, and the lifetime. This meant it went from 20% over 5 to 12% over 4.5. So it's got overall its healing nerfed. And you're not going to get as many frequent ticks. So if you miss the tick rate, that's going to be a bigger deal. Yeah. But each time it ticks on you, you gain a stack of Spore Guard. For each stack, when you take in-hand or off-hand damage, reduce its damage by, I need to use the proper terminology, not off-hand damage. You can tell that, we
basic attack or ability damage.
Reduces damage by 10% and remove a stack. If it was an ultimate that dealt damage, reduce its damage by 5% per stack and remove all stacks. So an ultimate is less affected by this, and it removes all stacks immediately. Otherwise, abilities and in-hands chip off one at a time.
Cool. All right, and then last up on the list, just some general healing items that we're making adjustments to.
Eris's Bow. This is the kind of the same thing that gods are getting with their healing and items are getting. This has a healing number, so we're reducing the healing number to have it make sense. Shield of Phoenix, again reducing the healing number so it makes sense. Phoenix Feather, again reducing the healing number so it makes sense. Notable absences here are Death's Toll and its upgrade. We feel like that item is probably fine as is. Maybe we'll go back, especially the death toll, like this actual starter. Maybe its upgrade does need a nerf, but we're not doing that for now. And I'm sure I have forgotten something because I tried to catch everything in this pass, and then as I was going through and implementing some of the balance, I realized I had missed a few other things. I'm sure I've missed a few things. Hopefully you guys will catch me on that, but we'll adjust as we go forward with this. We will be very quick to respond to things that we've missed, or there's effects that we've missed, or any god abilities that we've missed.
Yeah, so, people in chat are saying Vamp Shroud, Spirit Robe, Yogi's Necklace.
Yeah, Yogi's Regen, I don't think got adjusted. Spirit Robe, I think did. I just don't have it on the list. Vamp Shroud did not get adjusted. It probably would follow the similar rules of Death Toll as to why not. Yeah. Hunter's Cowl, its lifesteal should be adjusted. I think that's just not on the notes. So some of this I think we just missed.
Yeah, there's a lot. So there is definitely a chance that either I missed it on the 20-page document that is our internal patch notes doc right now and copy pasting it over, or we just need to work together to get it.
I honestly, it's probably just I missed on the notes.
Sweet.
And people are asking, like, we specifically called out the one item that counted as a healing ability.
Yes.
Does Eros's bow or the Amanita count as healing abilities?
No.
Or they do not? Okay,
that's
so they would not trigger.
That's a unique aspect to Rod of Asclepius. Amanita Charm and Eros's bow do not count as ability healing.
Sweet. Well, that was everything that I had on my document. There was a lot, and we didn't even talk about any of the god changes yet. I believe we're going to save that for another show later on in the week, just because I know, Pon, you wanted to make sure we had some time to answer questions, just because this is a large shift that's happening, right?
Yeah, and the TLDR is that most gods' healing will be reduced.
Yes.
So, that's the other part of the puzzle that we didn't go through today, because there's, other things that will be done to those gods as well, but that also was the change in response to there not being anti-heal on items.
And most of those are just numerical changes. There's not like new items to go over. So we felt like going over items today was more impactful and like explaining what we were doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's a really big pass. We've talked a lot about in the past of like SMITE 1 and SMITE 2 about doing something with healing, because we feel like it's been an area where we haven't had a great answer. We've just kind of skated by with what we've had going. And I think the combination of actually committing to reducing the healing by a significant amount, but also bringing in a whole bunch of new itemization to help support that kind of play style, give some really fun toys to make it so that when you play that play style, you feel like you're contributing with those effects.
Absolutely.
You need to get a lot done in one go to make this work.
Yeah.
So that's why we took the big swing. If it doesn't work out, we have a whole bunch of cool new item effects.
Yeah.
And we can add anti-heal back. Yeah. We've done a lot of the work now to make the really cool things that I think is going to make the patch interesting. So if it ends up being like, nah, this isn't it, we took the swing, and I think that was worth doing. But I'm pretty excited, and I'm pretty optimistic about how this is going to go.
Absolutely.
Yep. And one question I am seeing pop up a lot here is the new, not called Shield of Regrowth, but
Regrowth Striders.
Regrowth Striders. Does it have an internal cooldown, or would you be able to trigger it repeatedly with like Mulan 3?
So you should,
or not Mulan 3, Pele 3 is what they're saying.
So you should be able to trigger it repeatedly, but the effect, I'd have to go look. So the actual, like, the stacking rules would be, even if you trigger it a whole bunch of times, you're not going to get a whole bunch of multiplies of the effect. You're just going to get the one, it's going to refresh. I'd have to go look. My thought would be that it needs to be once per ability with like its tracking logic, but I have to go look.
Cool. Will Cupid's Heart Bomb and Field of Hearts count as a healing ability?
Yes.
Cool.
And then I did try to tag the aspect-specific stuff. So, for example, Chalk Rain is a healing ability, but it's not when you are in aspect form.
Yeah.
So the heal itself has the tag. That's something we'll probably have to go look at, because I don't know if it's going to work with every item that we've done. But that's the kind of stuff that we were considering looking at. And all the items have slightly different rules behind them. So we have a whole bunch of things. We tried to make sure that we create this really well. I know the ambassadors will be able to playtest this a little bit. You guys will have access to this soon enough as well to playtest it.
Yeah, flash test on Wednesday, I believe.
I highly encourage you to do it, because again, this is just a lot of changes that we're throwing at you, and we've done our best to QA them, but obviously things can work differently, or you guys are going to be able to instantly test 100 more combinations than I could within the first 30 minutes of having it.
Oh, for sure.
So.
And yes, I see someone in chat asking, I will save this doc out and get it posted out on social media for anyone that wants to reference it after the show.
I see 3 specific items that have been called out here that are Smite 1 things. But, Aussie, the attack speed lifesteal item.
Yeah, that one actually I would probably look at sooner rather than later, because that actually came up when I was playing Hui today. I was trying to use Barbed, and then I realized I don't actually have something great to pair this with. There probably does need to be an Aussie itemization as well. Probably not this patch.
Yeah.
But any other gaps that we have in this, we can definitely look at. I think that'll work out pretty well.
And the other 2 specific ones I've seen are Sekhmet's Scepter and Lotus Crown.
So Lotus Crown, we have in internal lore, there's an item that didn't make the stock called Soul Locket, which was meant to be similar to that effect. I didn't like the idea that it was just kind of passively giving out people protections when we talked about like not wanting to give a whole bunch of people aura protections. We tried to pivot it to a slightly different effect. It didn't work out great. That area is an area we probably want to look at, but I didn't want to just bring over Lotus. Sekhmet I'm blanking on right now. I know I've looked at it before.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what it did. I haven't built it in a long time. Although I feel like it was a good item on Surtur. I feel like that's the I don't know. But.
No Fate Blast Hoops. That was just a different item. Like we were just looking because there's some items that we think are interesting to bring over, but we also want an opportunity to make new items that are new to the game. So we try to also prioritize that, except for like super crowd favorites or ones that are very explicitly niche defining that we're missing. So like Regrowth, Hercules just doesn't feel the same without Regrowth Striders.
Yeah.
And then, man, there's so many we went over today. Vital Amplifier was one that is like also very much that's a very build defining archetype item that was really, really good for its purpose. So. The flat CDR when you heal yourself, it's a little similar then to Heartwood, but it's not exactly the same. We can look to see if it makes sense. Again, this is like the pass that we wanted to actually get like going.
Yep.
If there are some more that we want to bring out, we definitely can. I'm not opposed to doing
that. People are asking, Nimble Ring and Soul Gem got nerfed, but didn't get anything extra,
Yeah, so most of the lifesteal items that got nerfed that way didn't get anything extra. Just because they weren't under the same kind of rule set of like the healing itemization. And those items I think needed a bit more to be more defining, where now lifesteal contributes a bit more directly to like other itemization and like making their effect stronger, right? Like having Soul Gem will mean that your Typhon's minion is actually stronger, right? So we could look at it, but that one is more of a shift in the balance stat versus like the same type of pass we did with the healing items. If they end up underperforming, then sure, we can look to buff them. I'm not opposed to that, but their lifesteal was just treated a little bit differently.
Does Bologna Aspect get multiple stacks of Vital Amplifier per auto?
Good question. My thought would be that it should be once per ability or in hand, so you can't just instantly restack. Once per ability per in hand per target. So I would expect that you need to actually do multiple. That would be my expectation.
Did we show Hu Yi? Nope, that's on Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday is when we're going to go through the most
in-game
of the stuff
stuff.
that's in game, for the update. Today was just specifically talking about this really big healing change, which is good we did because it took us 40 minutes just to talk through the healing stuff.
Yeah. Below 3 will trigger the attack speed and basic attack damage as it currently is. We might need to make some of the rules more restrictive, but we want to be as like open with these effects as we can be. Would it be possible to make Typhon's Heart minion not instantly be suicidal? Would we have it walk around? So, yes, I looked at doing that. I may do another pass where I let you have some level of control over it, but I think making it a Scotty-like pet is just, we then have to make Scotty. And if we're going to put the effort in to make Scotty, we make Scotty.
We should make Scotty, yeah.
It's not as easy to have it just follow you around in a way that actually like works well and feels good. That's also why Nuance minions, they'll default to behavior of like the minions as well. It actually inherits a lot of the logic from Nuance minions. How will this patch affect the release of sustained gods like Ardio? I imagine it won't really influence their introduction at all. I don't think we'd look at the healer and be like, oh, now we're not going to do them because healing got changed, or we're more willing to do them because healing got changed. Generally, when we pick a god to do, it's for a lot of other reasons. How does the healing affect the jungle starter speed buff? That's been unchanged. So Thanatos is pretty similar in that regard. If there's things that we felt were related to like core functionality around Conquest that we couldn't address otherwise, so like speed buff, healing didn't get touched. The sustain you get from everything else doesn't get touched. Thanatos' lifesteal from minions. When he kills a minion, he gets a certain amount back. More from gods, less from minions. The less from minions was significantly less adjusted because it is core to his ability to sustain in the jungle.
Yeah, and I guess this is a follow-up question. It's not in chat, but Pon, off the top of your head, do you know how like a lot of these new items will like interact with like the healing wisps? Like if I pick up a healing wisp and there's an enemy with like Brawler's Beat Stick close, do they get any of the benefits?
You have to cast a healing ability in that state. So if the item is like when someone casts one or you cast one, no. When it is being healed will do X, then yes, those will trigger it. Regular Striders so the regular Striders will only work on like the application of the speed buff. My thought would be if it's an infinite effect, like it's just you always have 5% movement speed. We probably haven't actually tagged it as a buff for that purpose, so it might not trigger, or if it does trigger, it'll trigger once when you achieve it. It won't be on all the time. Because that effect isn't why you have a movement speed buff heal, it is when it gets applied to you, gain this heal that eventually fades off, even if the movement speed buff is still on you. Can you explain your thinking on bringing many lifesteal items when trying to make anti-heal not required? Yes, so the goal there is we want that play style to feel like it still has a lot of legs to it. There's certain characters who lifesteal is part of their core character identity, but it's also why they don't bring nearly as much lifesteal as they would otherwise. Basically, the amount of lifesteal numbers they have on them are half from what we would if we were to just add these as items to the game, because we don't have anti-heal as much. And we've also tried to make sure that the effects that were like Typhons, which was now your lifesteal is just significantly more, those also don't exist to further bolster it. So lifesteal got basically double nerfed in that sense, and the effects that you get for building more lifesteal are also related more to like damage or other utility that you bring, not just directly increase your healing.
Yeah, the goal of this should be like lifesteal and healing are still valid play styles.
Yes.
It's just they aren't ultra OP if you're the only person on the opposing team that built anti-heal, and they aren't useless at certain times because everybody bought anti-heal, right? It should be, I guess, a more consistent, you know what you're getting both as the healer and the person who's like getting healed, like you can better anticipate what's going on in the game and play around it better. And there are ways to like counterplay still with these new items, but it's not so swingy as it used to be.
Yeah, the goal is to reduce the swinginess nature of it, but we don't want to like make it so that you can't feel like your healing contributes to fights. We just don't want it to be the defining thing that your character does to the point where like we also have to make every other character in the game build a 75% reduction to you so that the game can be balanced, right? That's the goal of this change.
Yep. Somebody asked if Divine kept its passive. It still has the like lightning bounce passive. It just doesn't anti-heal anymore.
Yeah. Same with Learning, it still has the same active. It just doesn't apply the anti-heal anymore. Someone mentioned serrated nerfs. It's gone. It's been changed. But yes, if name a lifesteal item, it's been nerfed by about 50% of the lifesteal side of it. And then for Pele, because Pele is an interesting case, yes, his itemization helps her a lot. She did get further nerfs. So she got some of her healing also reduced. But she also has she's like the only god in the list of like the gods in the healing section that has a separate note. Like she's also just still.
I saw that when I was looking at
patch notes. She got adjustments. She lost some base health. She lost some movement speed on her 2, and she lost some damage on her 1. So there's further things that we're doing because Pele is still overperforming from our last balance patch anyway. Do I have any update on Raw's AO2 enhanced rock ball nomcon? I just didn't get a chance to look at it. It's on my list. I have the sticky notes app on my computer. I have a list, and it feels really nice to erase things off that list. But that list has just been seemingly growing, even though I do erase things. So it's still known. I'm working to get there eventually.
PTS today? No, PTS is on Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday after the show. We still haven't gone over Hui yet.
Yeah.
And a
Pod
lot
will be
of
back
other
on
stuff.
Wednesday.
There's a bunch of stuff in this update
Yeah.
that excited to show off, but we just wanted to get through the healing stuff first,
Yep.
and then everything else most of everything else on Wednesday, and then balance stuff on Friday.
Will future gods and minor anti-heal on their abilities like Kukulkan be nerfed? We'd probably investigate them at the time. My thought would be to generally standardize it across the board. With maybe Alpuash is probably the big exception in regards to maybe he gets some different effects related to him, because that was his specific role, and the 100% anti-heal effects would remain 100%.
Super quick, it's not healing related, but I just see someone asking about graphics on Xbox Series S. We can take a look, but if you can have your friends just submit a bug report with some screenshots of areas that seem off, we can that'll help us out a ton.
Yeah, I play a game on Series S a couple times a week and haven't noticed any major issues. So,
well, gods are dependent on lifesteal or for like Anubis and Hades going to be buffed or nerfed considering the lack of anti-heal now. So the general goal is like those parts of the kits are going to be reduced by about anywhere from 30 to 60% depending on the character. Anubis's, if I remember correctly, is about 50% on his lifesteal amount that he gets from his passive. Hades got, I think his was like a 40 to 50% adjustment. It wasn't quite the full 60%. He didn't get, I think, compensation for it, so it wasn't quite that threshold. But yeah, basically all healers will get reduced down. The quickest way to think about it is all gods out of combat healing will go down, just across the board. But their in-combat healing will generally be a bit higher, and it'll be more consistent across the board. And when they're anti-healed, they won't be like super anti-healed. So the big swings of someone like immediately healing up to full very quickly, you just shouldn't expect to see that as often. But characters bringing that strength to fight, you'll recognize that character for the strength that they bring. How will this affect Kerberos? So his passive is still the 25%.
Good question.
It should still work the same. It's just the same anti-heal that he applies, and the rules about how much he gets from the passive I think is the same. Because essentially, why double nerf it? Because if the amount of healing going out is less, then he's also getting less. And then his 3 got it was like in the 30 to 40% nerf ballpark. Any new aspect other than Hui's for his... So Hui, I'll at least confirm that he does have an aspect. We don't have to talk about what it is yet. But he will have one, but he'll be the only one in the patch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of other stuff
Yes.
from the design side this update.
I'm still amazed that we actually got this done in a patch. Like,
There's also a ton of like UI stuff in this. There's just a lot of stuff to go
there's
through.
a lot going on. But Hades healing is only in combat? Not necessarily, right? You can go up to a wave and you can just heal. That's a pretty common thing, dipping out of a fight to heal. Like, you commonly heal outside of combat. Like, combat with other gods that could apply a 75% reduction of healing to you. That's what I mean by combat. And again, that's also why he didn't get as nerfed, right? Because if he could just 3 and heal, like, at Fountain, or when his teammates have no other minions around to heal from, he probably would have gotten a more severe adjustment, but he also probably would have gotten a compensation change as well, like Aphrodite and Baron did.
Is this the mid-season patch? This is obviously a big change with a lot of stuff. This is probably about the level of change we would put into a mid-season patch. But realistically, we've been doing this kind of patch every few months here because we're trying to aggressively make the game better quicker, right?
Yes.
And we aren't trying to just be like, guys, we need to plan everything around doing a sweet big patch in mid-season and a cool patch for January or whatever. It's like, no, what's the thing that we think is a big issue with the game right now? Let's focus a big pass around addressing that issue. And one of the big things the designers came to, like Pon came to me with like, hey, healing, I think, is one of these big issues, these core systemic issues that we've never fixed from SMITE. Let's take a big swing and let's fix it right. And the way to fix it right is, let's get rid of anti-healing on items. And I was like, all right, dude, I trust you. Let's do it, right? Yeah. And so we're doing this big change, but we might see another crazy big patch like this in another couple months. Like, it's not like, we're just in a different phase of our existence right now than the old, like, super regimented. Every 3 months we need to have like
a new season.
It's just, that's not where we are, right? We're just like, let's make the game better as quickly as we can. And sometimes we'll have bigger patches that do that, and sometimes they'll be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also just like what we have time for. Like, I'm currently the next 2 characters coming out. I had a gap where I kind of finished my stuff, and then Clumsy, one of the characters he was working on, came out. So like this is kind of like the gap patch where I wasn't necessarily working directly on a release character as much. It ended up moving into 2E. So, but like there's also a little bit of that of like what we feel like is going to help the game, and then who has the time for it, and if this is the right time. I was lucky because I sent out the notes to like all the art department also for support on this, and I was like, if this can't be done for OB15, just let me know. They were willing to swing it. So it's a lot of it also just depends on like when we can actually get all the pieces together for types of changes like this. Like I know another thing we want to do is I know we are looking at the Conquest map. Getting the pieces together for that is taking some time as well. Mm-hmm. So like if you don't see something here, it's not because we don't like care to change it. It's more of like it's when we get the things together and we try and get that to you as soon as possible when it is reasonable for us to get it to you.
Do you think this update will limit the options for players now having to consider picking an anti-heal god in match lobby?
That's why we tried to expand the pool, but also that anti-heal effect isn't as strong as it was before. So I think reasonably that's going to be a cool strength that those characters bring to the fight, but it's not going to be like, oh, we didn't draft any anti-heal characters in the match. We're going to be completely screwed.
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to avoid that, right? Like we want it to be, oh, cool, we have an anti-heal character that's going to help in these fights. Yep. But it's not going to be required to actually end the game. Like, if you don't build anti-heal against a healer comp, you are going to lose. Mm-hmm. The goal is that's not the case anymore. Passives generally don't count as... I think they will count as heals from abilities, but they won't count as healing abilities because they don't activate. Right, like it's the cast rule, right? Like,
I think we need another Pon legalese document for.
Like it's similar to the old R39s when you cast an ultimate. Mm-hmm. It's the cast is the trigger for some of those items. Yeah. The other case is being healed by an ability. Like so, depending on the rule, the wording of it, the ruling is going to be slightly different.
That's kind of an interesting one. Why do you guys feel like a healing overhaul is more important now than another big arc of work? I would say this is a mostly design arc of work, right? So you have to compare it against other design arc of works. And I think you need to look at like games that are just like unfun. One of the biggest causes I think of games that are just unfun is when one team has healing and the other team doesn't build anti-heal, right? And it could be I'm on auto build, so my auto build doesn't build anti-heal, mm-hmm. right? Or it could be, newer players that don't understand exactly what they're doing, or they plan to buy the anti-heal, but they don't buy it in time, and the other person snowballs and it's over, right? Like a lot of games are just won or lost if you checked the box of buying anti-heal at the appropriate time in your build. And it also restricted a lot of the high level, like, I have to buy this item every time in this slot, and I don't get to be as creative with my builds. And one of the big things we're pushing for is build creativity. So this seemed like a really good arc of work to both remove the number of just like auto win, auto loss games that you will play in, and also make the game more strategically interesting for players. So there's always the argument of like, oh, well, you could have prioritized this other thing. Like, mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, we could have. But when we were going through the things we could focus on, this felt like a really good thing to focus on.
Yeah, and it also, a bonus towards that was we felt like the way to resolve this also included a whole bunch of new items needed to be made. And new items are fun. People get to do a whole bunch of cool things with them, right? Like, if this pass was just numerical number changes, one, it would have been also a lot quicker. So we also probably would have been like, yeah, we think this is going to help the game. And it's also not too difficult for us to just do number adjustments. But the fact that we also got to pair it with a whole bunch of cool itemization changes because we think that was integral to it helped.
Yep, lots of new toys for people to try out with.
And a couple people are asking about, map art and lighting need to be prioritized, in my opinion. Is there an update on art for the Conquest map? That's kind of why I said this is a more design-focused thing. We're doing other things on the art side. We are working on lighting stuff right now. I don't have a firm ETA for the update because, like, depending on what direction we go, it could have knock-on effects of us needing to update other things before we can, send it live to you guys. But yeah, that's the other stuff that we're looking at. It's just different people, different teams can focus on different things at the same time.
There's a reason why no items apply buffs to allies when you heal them. Yeah, so again, Soul Locket was the item that we didn't ship this one, which was on the list to do. It was kind of in that vein. it felt a little too. I wanted to come up with a more interesting effect, and I just didn't feel like I had one that didn't feel like it was an aura bot, right? Like we talked a lot about like not wanting players to just feel like they're aura bots in what they bring, and I think it'd be really easy to make healers basically turn into that.
Yeah.
So we tried to focus on effects that weren't that. So there might be like one or two that could still come out, but like that's why like there isn't really that type of effect here.
Yep. All right, well, we're at 2 p.m., so it's time for one more question.
Alani check. I saw people asking for as well.
Orange kiss for me today.
Pink slush. We were out of the cherry, so I went with the pink slush today.
Yeah, and I just have anger.
Anger.
Yeah, anger flavor. Someone asked this, can Airospo at the icon? This has been a common request for Airospo. It's tricky to change specifically the debuff icon. There was something I was looking at about changing the icon of Airospo itself in your inventory to the god picture, because that is something we can actually change. But it also seemed sketchy.
Yeah,
and
it could be confusing if you look down really quick.
It's on the list of things to look at, and I looked at it and went, this is sketchy, and so it kind of went back on the list of things to look at. So yeah. It would be a good improvement to the item. Customize specific UI features for the item is like, it'd be actually nice for that to even be like a nicer treatment towards that effect. But yeah, it's not as easy as it seems.
Would we get more anti-shield items in the future?
I saw one person say that Divine Ruin should be anti-shield now.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, we have a few anti-shield items in the game. I will spoil a little bit. The anti-shield items are getting a buff just because they're also underwhelming right now. So they are getting a buff. Shielding is probably in a state of like similar soft counters or better than just needing to have these hard counters that exist. I think shielding is just less ubiquitous than healing, so it's not as big of an issue. But generally, I think shielding should probably be one of those effects that largely is similar to healing, like it is like we're moving towards, where it's a strength the character brings. You don't have to counter it, but you can buy these counters if you feel like it's going to be super helpful. It's just a more difficult problem because I think the main offender that actually makes shielding a more difficult problem is actually Phantom Shell, because it's something that everyone can just pick up and bring and immediately have in a fight and apply multiple of in fights, and that is that starts to become very close to like how healing works. So I think if that item didn't exist, you probably wouldn't need this as much. So it's a tough balance problem. We might make those effects stronger. We might add slight soft counters here. We don't want to be in a world, though, where people feel like they're obligated to build this against shields. I'm going to answer a question from Sot, who said, how big is your list of things to look at? And in real life, what is on top of the list of things to look at? It's a very long list, right? But any time you've ever done a big project in your life, there are always a million things that you want to do and that you know that you could do better because you're more intimately familiar with that project than anybody else, right? It's like, if you're writing a book, you're like, oh man, I really hate the first chapter. I got to go back and work on that. Like whatever. Like the way this character develops isn't great. Like you have like 30,000 things in your head at the time that you're like, these are all the things I want to do. And it's like, okay, what are the things I'm going to try and get done today? I have my notepad of things that I'm trying to get done today. And, just some things that are on my list of things that like we're thinking about right now is like, we want to make sure that like the Wandering Market coin earn feels good and rewarding because we're putting so much things out now that you could spend Wandering Market coins on. It's like you can get into the place where you just don't have enough coins unless you play like nonstop, right? I have weekly quests on my list. We have to do our next Game Pass drop because it's been 3 months since the last one, so I need to send them an email about that. We are talking about some other things that I can't talk about yet. There's I had a meeting yesterday about the map lighting. There's a ton of little departments here that are working on their own top priorities at any given time. So I can't just say there's like one thing at the top of the list. It's like, what's at the top of the list for each team? Mm-hmm. And hopefully you guys feel like the things that we're working on are valuable. We're trying to do our best to prioritize and just make the game as better as we can every 2 weeks. So hopefully it feels like it.
Absolutely. Well, Kilgoon Pond, thanks so much for joining me for our Monday episode of Titan Talk. I'm pretty sure I will be seeing both of you again on Wednesday for our Who Ye reveal, as well as all the other stuff that's in game that we want to show off for Open Beta 15. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out. Join us back here on Wednesday for the Who You reveal and a lot of other stuff that's going to be in the update. Should be really exciting.
Yeah,
but
lots of good stuff.
Until then, we will see you all on the battleground. Peace.